Hello and welcome back. I can't believe it, time's flown. It's our last day here in Cornwall. I had a great tip-off about 4 days ago from a local of Cornwall that I actually met back in the summer at Project 83, which is a very cool biker hangout up in the Newquay area, highly recommended. And he said, Freddie, there's a great place only about 20 minutes from you. And it's an old abandoned 200-year-old gunpowder factory right in the middle of forest. Nature started taking it over, but it's got a really interesting history. And he said, I highly recommend you visit. I had a few look at Google Pics. I almost couldn't believe how incredible it was. It went straight to the top of the list. So we're going to go into Falmouth now, jump on the monkey bike, grab a bit of lunch, and then we're heading off to this old abandoned gunpowder factory. I've enjoyed reading your comments about Cornwall, especially the locals. I had someone saying to me, Freddie, never ever refer to Cornish as English. Cornish are Cornish, full stop. I'd love to hear if anyone else seconds that and agrees with it. So I found that very amusing. Right, I need to soak this in because Land Rover, obviously, I've got to drive it back to Ipswich and then drop it off in about 2 days. And the Dax is staying here for Honda to pick it up. So I have to soak in the last proper full day with these two incredible vehicles. I'll be so sad to let them both go. Cut that. Shall I just show one more manoeuvre? Look at this tight space, no foot down. Always look where you're going, never at the ground. And now through here. Oh, they've got a chimney there. I was tempted, because the Dax is so small, to park here, because we've been told it's just a small sign to enter the area, but it specifically says no parking. Do you think a Dax gets away with just squeezing it here?
I think so, yeah.
I thought I'd better not be antisocial and park it down there. The only problem with the Dax, it's 107 kilos. I've parked it on a street down there. It's very easy to just pick up right in the back of a van and take off. But I think Cornwall is, well, it's definitely much safer than southeast London where we used to be, so it should be fine here. This place we're going, it's the Kennall, I think it's called the Kennall Wood, and it's an old, I'll give a bit more detail when we're there, but it's an old gunpowder factory. I didn't know this, I was just reading up on it today. This is meant to be one of the most haunted areas in Cornwall, apparently.
What? Really?
Yeah, there have been a few deaths here, but let's see if we can find the mill
When?
first, and then I'll tell you. About 1838 or so. Huge amount of explosions when they used to create the gunpowder.
Wow.
I'm curious, I mean, the pictures look incredible. I just don't know if we'll actually be able to find the place.
No!
Okay, we're getting closer. Old buildings now dotted along the top of the Kennall River. As you can see around, nature's just taking them back. But I've just spotted through one of these archways here, down at the base of the river, there's the old gunpowder factory, so we'll try and get down there. But it's just amazing to see all of these old ruins that would have formed a fairly significant number of factories around here, which would have supplied a lot of the gunpowder for the mining, I think possibly mining of copper around the Cornwall area. These gunpowder factories, I mean, look at some of this. These gunpowder factories, or this one specifically, opened in 1812 and it shut down just before the start of World War II, 1914. So it was over 200 years ago that it was actually set up. We found it, the Kennall gunpowder factories dotted all the way along the river, and I can just see the whole way along little buildings that would be used for, I guess, the water power generation. They were meant to be so dangerous, these gunpowder factories, that I've seen reports of between 1 and 6 people who were killed in the 100 years they were operational. One of the people killed was a guy called William Dunsford, married with 10 children, killed in an explosion, and that is the ghost that's said to haunt these woods. I've even seen on YouTube there's meant to be a reported sighting here in 2018 of a demon in the woods. One of the explosions was meant to be so big that the roof of one of these gunpowder factories was seen a mile down the road. That's how big they were. Okay, Monica, I'll take the camera and I'll show you around. Nearly made it. You can see, spectacular, just behind me, the main gunpowder factory. You know, in the 100 years that this was operational, to the best of my knowledge, from what I've seen online, there were no less than 13 serious explosions from these gunpowder factories. So dangerous that the Kennall gunpowder factories were actually sued for their lack of health and safety, and I'm sure that's what began the end of this operation. But you can imagine this would have been a thriving area of business, and also you can see the power of the Kennall River that of course was key to these, or to the energy generation necessary for the creation of this gunpowder. And if you have a look here, the gap in between these two buildings, that's where the, what would you call it? The wheel that would move the water and generate the electricity, or generate the energy, would have been. So there'd been a huge wheel in between these two buildings where you can see the waterfall. It's a lovely place. It's quite eerie, but it's a spectacular place. Thank you, Rich, for the tip-off, because this is spectacular. I haven't been to too many places in the UK like it. It's just so lush, and every 50 metres you get up the river, you suddenly see another one of these gunpowder factories dotted along with the same layout, the gap in the middle of the two buildings where you'd have the wheel generating the power. And it's more and more spectacular with deeper waterfalls, faster running water the higher up you get. It's stunning. And it's all condensed in here into this valley specifically to protect from any potential explosions. You can see you're completely surrounded on all sides. Amazing place. Right, this is unscientific, I know, because this just doesn't use fuel, so I haven't managed to actually empty a tank. There's 76 miles on the clock. I think it was on about half a tank when I picked it up, and it's got about 1 bar left. So let's say, to be nice, it's used about half a tank. This is slightly unscientific, I admit, but roughly half a tank, 76 miles. Let's see how much it costs to fill up with 1 bar all the way to the top. So 1 bar all the way to the top, 76 miles roughly, has taken half a tank of fuel. I did want to make it more scientific, but I couldn't empty the tank quickly enough. Here we go. Tiny bit more, get it right up. Bang. £5.39 for quite close to a full tank, and if half a tank did 76 miles, you could in theory, and it's very, very rough, bear in mind, 150 miles to a tank, and that would cost you from top to bottom £7 or something like that. £6.80, £6.50, £7 for 150 miles. Any owners, let me know, is that just about right? Because if it is, that is completely superb. And that's it. We'll wrap it up there. Final thoughts on the Dax. I think it's fairly obvious. I love it. It's everything biking should be. It's cool, it's simple, and it's unbelievable value. I'm very, very seriously considering one of these as an extra bike. I know Monica will be like, you say this every time, but it's a joyous thing. It's such an amazing feel-good bike. I have loved every single second of it. I've got my final 2-mile ride now, so thank you so much everyone for coming along. We'll see you all back in Ipswich, or actually potentially dropping off the Land Rover Defender. So thanks so much all. See you in the next one.